kitchen, where I make delicious keto recipes that you can make easily in your own kitchen. So today, as promised, I did some research on, 2 videos ago, I did a Joe Duff's cinnamon roll in a bowl or in a mug. And it tasted so much like a snickerdoodle cookie and had the same texture as a cookie that I decided to try to develop it into a cinnamon cookie. So here goes. So I added a few things and I took a few things away, and I've tested it a few times, and I think I've come up with a perfect cinnamon or snickerdoodle cookie. So first I'm going to start with the wet ingredients and the sugar. Let's see, I'm going to use a whisk because I start off with 3 egg yolks, and I want to also, the butter is 2 tablespoons of melted butter. And we're going to mix that a little bit. Now the butter isn't hot. If it's too warm, it can cook the eggs. So make sure you melt it and let it cool a bit before you add it to the eggs. And then I'm going to add the sugar. It's a 1/4 cup of powdered sugar substitute of your choice. This happens to be Swerve. That's a 1/4 cup. And we're going to mix the sugar into the eggs, much like we do with any cookie cake recipe. Okay, so now we have the wet ingredients well incorporated, no lumps. Now we're going to start adding the dry ingredients. Well, actually, I think I might add, I found that it needed a little more sweetness, or a little pop of sweetness, so I have these sweet leaf vanilla drops. Now you don't have to have, and they're stevia, made from stevia, no sugar obviously, but it doesn't have to be vanilla. I just thought it would be nice with this. It can just be plain liquid stevia. And 4 drops, 2, 3, 4 will do, because it is pretty potent stuff. So I'll mix that in. Now it's nice and creamy. Now I'm going to add, let's see, I'll add a cup of almond flour. Make sure it's the finely ground almond flour. Always find when you use, when you're baking, to use the finely ground is the best. 1/3 cup of coconut flour. Did you know that you can take regular unsweetened coconut and put it in your, and grind it up in your grinder, whatever grinder of your choice is, and you have, that's how you get coconut flour. So in these times where we can't get to the store, if you have some coconut, grind it up. Not the sweetened kind, the unsweetened. Okay, and then in here I have, oh, I forgot to tell you, in the wet ingredients, along with the butter, the melted butter, I had 2 teaspoons of apple cider vinegar. I added that because it does make a tender dough. It tends to make the dough tender. So I thought this would be good for our cookies. They wouldn't be too hard like a rock. It would be more tender. So that was mixed in with the melted butter. In here I have about 1.5 tablespoons of cinnamon. I have about 1/4 teaspoon of ground fresh nutmeg. Now if you have just the ground nutmeg in the jar, I would just use 1/2 teaspoon. It has a little pinch of salt and a teaspoon of xanthan gum, which I've used in prior videos. That will also lend itself to a tender cookie. So I'm going to add that in. Those are our dry and wet ingredients. It's sort of a dump and go kind of a recipe. Now, as you're stirring this, you're going to notice it looks really, really dry. In fact, I'm going to change from this and go right into the spoon, because this is really going to mix better if you use a spatula or something of that nature. Come on, come out of there. I know you'll come out. Gonna make it happen. Here we go. Okay, so let's mix that up. And like I said, it looks really dry at first, but keep at it. Don't worry, it's going to come together. And if it doesn't come to the texture that we're looking for, we can always add a little bit of water to tighten it up a bit. But it looks like it's coming together pretty well. Sometimes if you push on it, it will mix it better. See, now it's getting a little sandier, like a sand texture, just like you're at the beach. Here we go, we're getting there. Make sure those eggs are really whipped up into that cider vinegar too. You don't want to drop the egg yolks in here whole, because then you'll have pieces of egg yolk in your cookie, and you don't want that. You want it all mixed together, homogeneously, whatever the word is. Okay, so that's the texture that you want. You want a texture where if you pick it up, it will come together. So see how it comes together when you pick it up? Okay, so that's what you want. Now I'm going to, this is just parchment paper. I haven't greased it or anything. I'm going to use my hands. Those are my best tools in the kitchen. They're very clean. I've rinsed them, washed them, and about an inch for each of these cookies. And I get about between 12 and 16 cookies, depending on how big I make them, or depending on the weather too. Sometimes the weather has a lot to do with it. Today here in the Northeast, it's finally sunny out. My goodness, it's been a long, dreary winter. Not much snow where I live, but lots and lots of dreary rain, which I'm ready for the sunshine. I don't know about you, especially being stuck in the house and having it rain day after day. Okay, so now I have 4, 8, 12, 15 cookies, about an inch apart. They don't spread out that much. What you do need to do though is press them down like this, because they don't spread out. You need to make it into basically a cookie shape, and I just do that. You could do it with a spoon or your hands, as I'm doing. Now you can tell they're not all perfect. That's okay. All right, so there's that. They're all spread down. Go back and make sure they're all about the same. Now, let me go get something special I just thought of. I made, not too long ago, some keto cinnamon sugar. I took some Swerve, granulated Swerve. I took about a 1/4 cup and I put about 1/2 teaspoon to a teaspoon of cinnamon, and I made my own cinnamon sugar. So I thought, wouldn't it be nice if we just topped it? We have like a little bit more cinnamony, sugary taste on the top of these. And then guess what? We are going to make a delicious cream cheese frosting to dollop on the top of these. So this goes in the oven at 350. Let me see, it's about 8 to 10 minutes. Mine, I have a gas oven, and it cooks pretty quickly because it's gas. Everybody's oven is different, but mine was in for 9 minutes and it was perfect. They don't look like, the top does not get brown. You have to kind of lift it up, and underneath it will look browner than the top, and that'll tell you when they're finished. So we'll come back and I'll show you how to make the delicious cream cheese frosting that goes on top when they come out of the oven. Hey, welcome back. It's been about 5 minutes since they came out of the oven. They were in for about 9 minutes and they came out perfectly. Let me show you. This is the top. See, but it didn't really grow any bigger, much bigger than it did. But if you look underneath, it has a light brown tinge to it. If you can see that, I hope. And that's what you're looking for, okay? Let's see, here we go. So let's frost these. Let me show you what we did here. I have about an ounce of cream cheese that was, came right out of the refrigerator, and a tablespoon of butter. So what I did was I stuck them, you could leave yours out to soften, but I hadn't done that. So what I did was I put them in the microwave for about 10 seconds. And when they came out, I used a fork to really try to break up any lumps there might be, because you don't want a big lump of butter or a big lump of cream cheese on top of your cookie. So I try, and then I'm using this little whisk. I have this nice little whisk here. If you have a bigger whisk, that's fine too, or whatever you want to use to try to get as many of those lumps out as you can. All right, so let's sweeten this with about a tablespoon of powdered swerve. And what I do is I always kind of like mix it up and loosen it up before I grab it, so it's a loose measurement. So there's about a tablespoon of powdered sugar. We're going to do about, I'm going to do about a little less than a tablespoon of heavy cream, because I don't, it's better to, it's easier to add more than take it away. I don't want it to be too loose. Now about a teaspoon of vanilla. Again, this is my homemade with vodka and vanilla beans. You set it for about 3 months and keep turning it once a week to mix up that goodness. Looks like I'm going to have to add some vodka to this. It's getting pretty low. Okay, so I think that's it for my recipe for that. So I'm going to mix it up. Oh, it's coming together really well. Oh, nice and smooth too. See that? Let me come over so you can see better. It's a nice glaze for the top of our cookies. So let's top those cookies. All right, so I think I'm going to use a spoon, and I'll use a knife if I need to take it off. So about half a teaspoon on each one, maybe. I just put a dollop. And this is probably just enough for about 15 to 16 cookies. So this is perfect. And just remember to really mix the butter and the cream cheese and get all the lumps out you can possibly get out before you add the other two ingredients. Okay, so I'm going to get some cinnamon, and I'm going to put just a little bit, shake a little bit. Hopefully it won't come out too heavy, because you don't want too much cinnamon. There's quite a bit in the batter itself. So let's go like that. There we go. Oh, that's looking beautiful. Okay, perfect. See, just enough frosting too. So there is the final product. All right, now I'm going to taste it. Okay, so I think I will taste this one right here. Here it is. Let me break it. Now remember, these are going to be tender. They're not a hard cookie. They're a very soft, tender cookie, almost like a pie crusty kind. I love it. Oh, my hand's awful dirty. That's all right. Let's see how that tastes. Oh, yeah. Perfect. Bet I could do these. Now it's just going to be the three of us. My daughter Kyla and I will probably be the only ones to eat these for Easter on Sunday. That would be a great idea. Nice cup of coffee. Nice afternoon treat. Okay, so thank you once again for coming into Kim's Keto Kitchen. And I hope you have a wonderful day. So all of you have a happy Easter and stay well. And I'll see you next time. Have a great day.